Hi, I'm Sadie Dingfelder, and I wrote this book, Do I Know You? A Faceblind reporter's journey into the science of sight, memory, and imagination. And to be honest, I do not remember writing this book at all. I'm pretty sure I did, but I have this condition called severely deficient autobiographical memory. I don't know if you saw 50 First Dates or Memento or even, Finding Dory, but all of these main characters are sort of stuck in an eternal present. They can't make new episodic memories. It's not quite as dramatic in the real world. I have the developmental version instead of the kind you get from a brain injury. And so people who have SDAM, like me, aren't really impaired. We seem normal, but we simply can't do that mental time travel to moments from our past that other people can do. I spent the first 40 years of my life thinking that I was basically neurotypical. That means that I thought that the way I perceived the world in my inner life was pretty much how everyone else experiences the world and had their inner lives. But then one day I made this really weird mistake where I accosted a random man in the grocery store who I thought was my boyfriend, and when I looked at the horrified look on his face, it just occurred to me, like, wow, this is not the kind of mistake that normal people make. And then, I remember thinking, like, is something wrong with my brain? Like, is there something I should be concerned about? I'm a science reporter, and so I think maybe a normal person would have gone to a doctor or neurologist, but my first instinct was to sign up for studies. Fairly quickly, I made some discoveries about myself. I have 4 rare neurological conditions. I'm faceblind, I'm stereoblind, I have something called aphantasia, and also, as I mentioned before, severely deficient autobiographical memory, or SDAM. I'm not just a faceblind reporter, I'm an amnesiac memoirist. I now know that that isn't disqualifying. My poor episodic memory is probably why I'm so driven to tell stories about myself, because it's my only way of holding on to the past. I hope that other people reading my book will have the experience of thinking, some people will think, oh my gosh, like that sounds like me, or this sounds exactly like my cousin or my best friend, because there's a lot of hidden neurodiversity in the world. I didn't realize that I have such an unusual brain, until I was 40. And there's some people who might never ever realize it. But I think a lot of people have this sort of vague, incoherent feeling of being different, of maybe living in a world that was not made for them. Or maybe like you feel like you missed the day in school when they handed out some very helpful information. What I hope everyone takes away from my book is that if you have this feeling, you're probably right. You probably have some unusual brain architecture that makes it hard for you to fit in. I just hope that people know that, or learn that there are other people like you in the world, almost certainly. And even if scientists haven't given your sort of configuration a name yet, you bring really valuable things to the table, valuable perspectives, valuable skills, precisely because it's so rare. It's not always fun to be the oddball, but I think that, it's certainly interesting.